Hello, good morning, good evening, and good night, depending on where in the world you're joining us from. Today we're going to start, well, not start, but we're going to do a recitation on Fab All-In, basically a diverse group that has been sharing stories and sharing knowledge throughout the network. It's a really diverse group. And with that, I'm going to leave it up with Sherry Lassiter, who's going to start the session today.
Super, thank you. Let me share my screen so that all of you can see this lovely presentation. All right, sorry, it's a little trying to, oh, slideshow, here we go. There we go. So welcome to this week's recitation. This is a very special course that we developed over the years in the network. I'm Sherry Lassiter, and I'm president and CEO of the Fab Foundation. And I'm joined today by my great colleagues from around the world to introduce you to this course that emerged from the Fab Lab network called Fab All-In. And so just to get started, I think I'd love for everyone, both my colleagues and all of you who are listening today, I'd love for you to unmute and just say hello and welcome in your own language. We'll do it all at the same time so that we can hear the cacophony of our diversity. So 1, 2, 3.
Howdy.
Hola y
Bienvenidos.
bienvenidos.
Helene, que welcome.
Thank you. That's super awesome. I appreciate that. It's so good to see you all. You're all in the course How to Make Almost Anything. And so that's really about how we make technology, how we create and innovate and make technology. But in this course, really we're addressing not just how you make, we're really addressing who and why we make almost anything. And in that process, we are observing and we're listening and we're searching for and finding genius and recognizing and adding that genius or that work to what we do and what we promote. And so this course really is kind of about embedding diversity and inclusion of thought and identity into our work. Now, today, I'll start with just a bit of a welcome and a situating you into the Fab Lab network and of what we're doing. And then we're going to do an exercise with Benno, a creative collaborative exercise with Benno Juarez, who is from Peru. And then Joel Kuchner-Gershenfeld, who is at Brandeis, is going to talk about the social constructs, the social infrastructure and large-scale systems change. And then we'll turn to actually what the network is doing. And so, Rico Kansatham and Nuria Robles will kind of look at, take a bigger, broader view across the network and see, kind of how this plays out in the network. And then Chelsea Lynn, who's my great colleague at Fab Foundation, she'll talk really about how this works, how the course works. And then Megan Smith, who will really talk us through how do we come to conclusions and solutions through inclusion. And so it'll be a wonderful hour. And just to get started, let's just talk a little bit about the network, right? So this is an extraordinary network of more than 3,000 labs, 35,000 users in probably like 150 countries. And that was all organic growth. Nobody made that happen. Nobody's leading this. It's really a distributed network that follows its own interests and its own instincts. And so all of the beautiful projects that emerge and the wonderful work that's happening in each community is happening through really the efforts of the people that run those labs. But one of the biggest challenges, or amongst the challenges, are, how do we collaborate? How do we include the whole community, and how do we sustain ourselves? I think one of the biggest issues throughout the network has been, how do we sustain a lab that's doing this beautiful work and has the potential to do incredibly supportive work in the community? How do we sustain that? And And this is kind of how this course came about, is that uh, there was a sort of a group of people globally, some of them here today, who really wanted to think about how do we elevate the practices that already exist? How do we celebrate and elevate the practices that already exist, and then share and disseminate those practices throughout the network so that others can benefit from and emulate the great work that's already happening. And so, uh, you know, I want to address the fact that, equity and inclusion and diversity, we're incredibly diverse. Just look at the map, right? We're an amazingly diverse community, but we aren't always inclusive. And honestly, right now, the political winds are shifting constantly, and we're experiencing a populist trend that's really not about diversity and inclusion. And so, but our network, it's always been above country boundaries and above politics, or we're more global in our thinking, and we're more like the UN than we are, say, like the US. It's really about social impact and about being inclusive of the entire community. So as Joel, you'll hear a lot more about this, but as he says in the book Designing Reality that he wrote with his brothers, um, we need to be sure that the social structures and development keep pace with, if not ahead of, the technology development, such that the technology is relevant to society, benefits society, and makes social impact. So the course is really about how we find the successful approaches to social impact and to sustainability that already exist, and then elevate those practices for everyone to see and to emulate. And so um, I'm going to sort of switch gears and just talk a little bit about the Fab Foundation and sort of our, how we and the network and how we try to contribute to this. But I'd like for you all, if you would, to go ahead and link to this site, because as soon as I finish, then Benno will want to take you through this collaborative exercise. So if you could go ahead and be sure that you're connected here, that would be really, really helpful.
And Sherry, Benno
Okay.
put the
Yep.
link into the chat, so it's there too.
It's all too. Okay, that's great. Super. Thanks, Benno. Okay, so I'm with the Fab Foundation, as is Norella and Chelsea and a few other people here today. We really are about bridging the digital divide. So bringing digital fabrication and the knowledge to use and innovate and invent to everyone, and making it accessible and affordable, and including uh, everyone's ideas and voices in as we confront the challenges of the 21st century. Yes, such as climate and sustainability. And our work is really organized around three pillars. It's education, the .edu, it's social impact, the .org, and it's about economic development, the .com. And so those are the pillars of our work. One of the first things that we are doing this year, in the coming year, is we're trying to establish a global headquarters in Cambridge, very close, in Kendall Square, very close to MIT. We're going to call it the Fab Hub, and this will be Fab Foundation's global headquarters, but this is also where we will do all of that work, .edu, .org, .com, the education, the social, and the economic development work. And we're very, very excited about that. And when we have our conference there next year, we hope to see all of you there. But we welcome you to the global headquarters, and want to include you in the work that we do. Um, uh, this is in the .org, just to remind you that what we try to do is promote and support these initiatives that the network is really excited about and wants to pursue. And so the Fab City Global Initiative is an example of one. It's about being locally productive, but globally connected. And a very beautiful project with about 50 or so cities and regions signed up around the world to see if in 40 years we can develop a playbook for a sustainable city, a city in which we we produce what we manufacture, and all we export is the design and the knowledge. And then of course, addressing UN Sustainable Development Goals. This is one that's also rapidly gaining a lot of participation from the network. I would say we're about 25% of the network of those 3,000 labs now participate in trying to align their labs to the UN, some of the work of their labs to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, which is wonderful. It's a grassroots approach to a very top-down kind of solution building, right? So that's another one of the projects. The Fab Foundation, we also kind of try to bring together and support these global and regional networks. So there are networks, all over the world. In South America, there's a beautiful network. In the USA, there's a beautiful network. There are networks really everywhere. There's a growing network in Kazakhstan, which we just heard from one of the students there. And so really these networks are very, very important to support both the sustainability and the reach of the work that you all do, or of your labs do. And so and we organize the annual Fab Lab conference and network, and I'm hoping that all of you are graduating this year and that we will see you at Fab 25. And then of course next year this will happen in Boston at the new global headquarters and at MIT. So, but this year we're in Czech Republic and we want to see you there. So we want to celebrate when you graduate. Now, this is the .edu portion of our work. So Fab Foundation, we kind of helped with the original design of how to make almost anything. But what we found is we have a growing portfolio of beautiful courses that we offer in the same way and that have the sort of same robust, reliable, kind of structures, right? That make these great courses. So there's not only the Fab Academy, which was based on how to make almost anything, but there's the Fab Academy, which is the sort of which you're probably familiar with, but it's sort of the intersection of biology, digital fabrication, biofabrication, digital fabrication, and design. It's a beautiful course. Fab Learning Academy, which is our professional development for K through 12 teachers who want to use digital fabrication in the classroom to teach STEM. And then Fab All-In, this course. We also have a Bioacademy that we're still working on, which is about synthetic biology. And then Fab Academy Star, which is run in Qatar and several, I think there are other places that are doing similarly, but it's sort of taking apart Fab Academy and offering it sort of in more digestible chunks, right? So that you can there's an easier on-ramp for younger learners and different learners. And then, of course, we do a lot of K-12 education. We have a platform called Scopes DF, which is for the community practice, which offers fellowships, paid fellowships, awards for lessons, and it's a place where you can upload and download lessons for your classroom. But this is the one that we're here today to talk about, and this is the all-in course. So
1 minute warning, Sherry.
yes, so the course is about allowing anyone or everyone, all topics, to belong, to bring impact, to participate. So it's about how we find the successful approaches to social impact and sustainability that already exist and elevate those practices for all to see and to emulate. So I would love to now turn this over to my colleague Benno Juarez so that we can do this wonderful collaborative exercise together. Oops.
Thank you, Sherry. Thank you.
Go back just one. Go back one slide.
Go
and
back
also
one.
hit
Sorry.
OK on your
Here we go.
There it is.
There we go.
See the OK up top? Just hit OK. Perfect.
Great. Thank you so much. Please join the link in the chat. I can see Norella, Chelsea, Daniel, Pablo, Nuria. Yeah, please join the link. And let me talk a little bit about this.
Participate at the top.
Oops. Sorry. Hold on.
Yeah.
The link will
Okay,
be on the side and you can click here. You can use the QR. Just click participate.
Who, me
yes.
or everybody else?
Everybody just click participate. Oh, Sherry, go back one and stay there. No,
Okay.
go back one. Yeah, there. Just stay right
Okay.
there.
Okay.
Now,
Should I stop?
if you stop sharing, then Benno can put his screen up.
Yes, I can do it. Excellent. Thank you. Welcome, Nuria, Mega, Marita, Noor, Cyber Mode, Olof, Salma. Great. Thank you for share this interface. And this is a dynamic that we call the synchronometer. And we created that in order to measure our empathy level of as a group. We have developed this tool that consists in creating a collaborative image by changing the colors of the squares. Let me show you how. No? You can choose here, for example, some of the colors, and then you click, and then you will see in real time how it changes. You can try it, please. Great, we can see it's alive. No? Okay, here's the goal. We have to build together in 1 minute an image recognizable by everyone. But we have a condition. We cannot talk or chat previously to agree with others about what we want to do. Is it clear? 1 minute to create collaboratively one image that has to be recognizable at the end of the dynamic by everybody. Everybody have to say, okay, this is something, and everybody's agreed. And the only condition is we cannot talk or previously agree with others about what to do. Ready? We can start when Rico says. Please, Rico, 1 minute.
Let's go.
Excellent. Okay, this is not an easy challenge, we know, but we hope we can do it. It's not clear to me right now, but maybe something will appear in the last seconds. How much time do we have, Rico?
30 more seconds.
Excellent. Thank you. 30 seconds, please, friends. We can do it. Put your best. Okay, few more seconds. Something can appear.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1,
Okay,
and stop.
Thank you, Super Rico. So what can we do here? What do you think? What is that? Any idea?
It was starting to be a human form, but then out of green, but that we never quite got there.
I kind of see a bird. I see a bird that's looking to the left, like we see the yellow eye with the green body.
Yeah. Yes. We have to be very creative to see something here. Well, friends, just because the time, no? But congratulations, everybody. We tried, but yeah, in my experience, in more than 7 years doing this kind of challenge, no, more than 95% fail to generate a recognizable image in the first iteration. No? So don't feel bad for that. No? So for many reasons, no. For example, I don't know, maybe you can identify your behavior here. No, one typical behavior is a mechanical action, no, or randomly, no, or very individualistic action. No? I will put any color everywhere, no? Or anywhere. This is one. Another pattern is do not take a time to connect with other decisions. No, maybe you want to do something, but you are more fast. Try to be faster than the image is moving. No, and even having a best predisposition to collaborate. This is very interesting. No, maybe you want to collaborate, you want to contribute, but you have an idea in mind. You want to say, I don't know, a car, a flower, a tree, whatever, and you try to do that, but at the end, you feel frustrated because you can see that everybody is trying to do something and doesn't work, no? Because nobody makes what you want, no? Or anybody is following your idea or images, no? So it is interesting because in this very simple exercise, we can explore our attitude to collaboration, no? So we can ask ourselves what kind of attitudes contribute to achieve the goal. In our experience, for example, it's very important a blank mind or a white mind when you want to collaborate. Maybe try to impose idea or bring some ideas before to understand what is happening will be frustrating for collaboration. Taking a pause before choosing, focusing on the connections and identifying opportunities in others, integrating rather than imposing, maybe could be a great attitude for collaboration. Well, thank you so much, and we hope to repeat this exercise in the Fab All-In session. Okay, we can continue.
Yeah, Benno,
Or-
this next slide is yours for the
Okay,
is it? I
excellent.
believe. Yeah. Okay. Let me share my screen again and the audio. Hold on.
Thank
You
you.
have
Thank
4
you.
minutes, Benno.
Benno,
For me, no.
if Benno,
Okay.
you unshare. There we go.
Okay, I will share this. And just for 4 minutes, I have a video for you, but yeah, let me jump to this part of the video. Just I wanted to share with you today. It's some behaviors in nature, especially in native communities in the Amazon rainforest, that works in order to generate regenerative cultures. Apologize my duplicity in the word, no? For example, what's interesting in the Amazon culture is people that predate one area and they are not centralized system. They are very distributed and they are rotating during in the territory to leave the nature to regenerate itself. So we have many examples about how ancestral knowledge and ancestral technologies are really the future because we can see a lot of, or we can find this, for example, labs or agro labs, etc., are ways to increase the biodiversity in the world. So this is our challenge in the Amazon rainforest. How do we create a technology that increase biodiversity? And I would love to share with you our last project. It is a 3 minutes video, so I think we can see this in order to also be in time. So let me show you this. Sorry, I have to share also the sound. Okay, here we go.
Ari, Naro, Ana. Nandaritake Amazonaki avisake medio ciclo osarenzi. Eranitake no pake kametsaiteri apayetari kametsa no sabantakeri ashaninka. No hempeki saiki tsimeri kapitori meiri koshiripe. Noitsuki pariatsiri kipatsiki yobaro maniro. Itairiki sharonipe aisati pashinipe. Kimoshire yayetiro no itsuki antamiki. Meka odini kapichaki. Nandaritake te añakiro aisati narori no kamaki.
In the last 30 years, the world's biodiversity has suffered significant losses. More than 420 million hectares of forests have disappeared, mainly due to agriculture and urban expansion. Urgent need to change the model. Reinvent industry. Reverse predation. Regenerate biodiversity. Regen. Fab Lab Peru project, part of High-Tech Open Initiative, in collaboration with Amazonian native communities, driven by a desire to explore and preserve indigenous knowledge globally, with support from scientific research. The rescue of ancestral knowledge is not a contemplative look at the past. It is essentially a creative action that invites us to imagine and build together the future we desire.
Ese tipo de plantas que están extinguiéndose y hay bastantes especies que vamos a recuperar mediante estos proyectos que vamos a hacer.
Science and culture together, developing new products for holistic care. For Native communities, the forest is not an object, but a subject, a member of the family. Indeed, the most important member. This leads them to respect and care for it. At Regan, we register depredated areas, measure their level of biodiversity, and design plans for their accelerated reforestation, focusing on native plants, especially those at risk of extinction. These native plants are the basis for the co-creation of multifunctional products that benefit people's physical and emotional health.
Nohitake no shitsa apinto, abitsanota nakero kipatsi. Kajemansi ayayetiri, aretaka ayetirori noitsuki, eisati kamantansi ashi onchatomashi. La naturaleza no es un objeto. Inchatomashi kari antayayetiri iropero irashi ashaninga.
Thank you. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you very much, Maestro
Yeah.
Beno. We turn to Joel Gershenfeld for the next section on social infrastructure.
Okay, hold on, let me share my screen here again.
Actually,
Oh,
no,
no?
I need to share my screen, Sherry.
Okay, all right.
So I just put in the chat a link to a document, which is it's a Google document, and what I want you to do is come to the document, and I'm going to invite you to, I'm going to give you guidance for each of the three parts of the document. The first thing that I'd like you to do, and I'm going to now share my screen so you can see as well. The first thing that I'd like you to do is hold your hand and I'll call on you, but you can also enter things in after I do one or two and you'll see. As you think about the ability of your Fab Lab and other parts of the Fab ecosystem to be inclusive, what are some roses, some things that are currently happening that are going well in less than a sentence that you'd like to appreciate? Hold your hand up. I'll call on you, but also you have the ability to just enter in this as well.
Hey, Joel, change the setting for everyone edit. I think it's on viewer for the
Oh, it
share.
is?
I
Okay,
think it
I
might
thought I
be.
had it on. No, it's on editing for everyone.
In the sharing. Where do you, that's you editing. Where's the sharing setting? Is it over to the right? Maybe to the right?
I'm not sure now.
I think it's not wide enough. Let's see, if you click that little down caret to the right, does it give you a share option? Yeah, the share. Up, click that down and then see where the little person is, the plus, next to your face on the right. Over to the right. See where your face is? Yeah, click that. And then say anyone over
Oh, I
edit.
see. Got it. Thank you.
Yeah,
Go
sure.
for it.
And then save. Cool.
Great.
Okay, now we can.
So now anyone can edit and make comments. We're in a brainstorming mode, but also if you hold your
And they
hand.
may have to reload in order to get the access. Just reload the.
Okay. Thank you all. So just focus on roses. What are some roses that you want to offer that you appreciate as examples of things that are inclusive in your Fab Lab or in the Fab ecosystem that you know about?
Is everybody able to type on it or is it?
And if you have a
There we
problem
go.
typing, just hold your hand up and I'll call on you and I can do the typing too. We see open source collaboration, which is absolutely true. And we saw Benno showing people helping themselves. We see people sharing knowledge. We see an enthusiastic community. And by the way, a community that's self-driven. and people learning from each other. So I appreciate what people have typed. And of course, if you still want to contribute, please do so. Girls being included as well as boys. But now let's move on to the second thing. These are buds. These are things that aren't yet happening, but that are beginning to show promise. Are there things that are happening that you would like to lift up or appreciate that are not yet roses, but are buds that could become roses? Are there any other buds that you see that you would like to highlight? And we see Fab Labs are still not well known. Not everyone knows about the work that Benno described. Um, People are starting at a younger age, which has promise, but of course, we won't see the results for a little while. So this is excellent. We have some buds that are forming. Uh, of course, we can still contribute to the buds, but I'm going to move us on, mindful of time, and ask you the hardest question of all. What's in the way? What are the thorns? What are the barriers that you're experiencing that we need to be uh, mindful of going forward? And we see, of course, the economics is an issue, the time resources, the political leaders don't even know what's going on. And in a minute, I'm going to review what we have here, but I really appreciate everyone co-creating this quick thumbnail sketch of all in the Fab ecosystem from your lived experience. While people are still contributing, I'm just going to review quickly. I'm sharing my screen. The roses are people sharing knowledge, open source mechanisms, respecting nature and including nature in, girls being welcome, kindness as a feature as we learn from each other. There are buds, people starting at a younger age. The fabs can look too technologic as a bud, which is something that we need to work on. Um, People knowing what's going on, confidence that's slowly emerging as people participate, that there are still high barriers to learning. So the bud is addressing that barrier. And that really points to some thorns, sustainability, time and resources, lack of understanding. Political leaders don't know what's going on, financial challenges, issues of staffing. What I will tell you is folks who study change management point out that the best way to achieve change is not by pushing change hard, but by lowering the barriers. And so on this list, we adore the roses and nurture the buds. But the real work ahead for all of us, and I'll pause here and pass it along to the next, is to take these thorns seriously and to say, ask ourselves as an ecosystem, what can we do that will help to lower some of these barriers so that the intrinsic drivers can take over? First of all, thank you for shaping this. This is now a shared document. You're welcome to continue to contribute, but I'm going to pause here and hand it back.
Joel, before you sign off, maybe you could introduce yourself.
I'm sorry. My name is Joel Gershenfeld. I'm actually a brother of Neil Gershenfeld and a co-author of the Designing Reality book. My son and I volunteered in the very first Fab Lab in the South, or the second, depending on whether you count the South End of Boston or India, um, with Mel King back in the early 2000s, 2002, 2003. And then I helped to found a Fab Lab in Champaign-Urbana when I was a dean at the University of Illinois. That Fab Lab is still flourishing and doing amazing things. And we even helped from that lab to launch one in Alaska. And if you want to share the slide that you have in the slide deck, the picture on the far right, oops, go back one. The picture on the far right is a girl from the Fab Lab in the South End of Boston. She did this in 2003, and I'm pleased to report that she's now an electrical engineer. Well, she's an engineer, and the Fab Lab was her launching pad. Myself and my team has written a book called an article called "Keeping It Agile When You Launch a Collaboration." That's on the far left. And we now have a book called The Consortia Century, which basically argues that the 21st century has challenges that can't be solved by any one organization or institution. It will take consortia, multi-stakeholder groups working together. And the Fab ecosystem is just that. It's a collection of parties accomplishing together what we can't do separately. You see the Champaign Fab Lab down in the bottom right corner. And in the middle is an article that myself and my brothers wrote. Our other brother, Alan, is a leader in social impact video games. So Neil is technology, I'm the social science, and Alan is the humanities. But the article that we wrote really argues that Fab Labs have the potential to achieve self-sufficient production in communities and really to be an economic engine, but it will only happen by us all working together. I'm delighted to be here with you and excited by what FabIn can do. And we've just done, of course, the Rosebud Thorns as well.
Fantastic. I guess somebody's driving the slides. All right, so we move on to the next section. So myself and Nuria Robles, who I'm sure you all know from Fab Lab Leon. So I'm Rico Kuntaram. I run a Fab Lab in Kamakura, Japan. And yeah, so this next section will address many of the inspirations that already exist in the network. I think it was already identified in Joel's section that one of the biggest problems is that there's so many issues that many Fab Labs are experiencing individually, and maybe they don't even have an idea of how they might address some of those things. And what we've discovered in the running the Fab All-In program over the past few years is that many of the solutions for many of the problems have already been addressed, and we're trying to be a platform to bring these solutions to your attention. Okay, with that, next slide, please. So I'll talk for a little bit here, then I'll hand it over to Nuria later on. But I'm sure if you don't already know Vanessa, she is a force of nature from Peru. Started a digital carpentry business in Peru, being inspired by her grandfather, who was also a woodworker, and then created a business that allowed traditional woodworkers to use high-tech machines to generate all kinds of furniture. I think she's now based in the United States and still continues to run this amazing initiative. So, somebody addressing the financial issue. All right, the next one is somebody who I think you already met in last Wednesday, but I'll hand over the mic to Noor Sawaidan to speak for herself.
Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you all. I'm Noor from Fab Lab Bahrain, and this is the program that we developed here since 2023, which is the Spark program. It came from the need, which is bridging the gap between private schools and public schools when it comes to ICT education. So our approach was mainly training educators who can then borrow the material from us and have the remote lab here in Fab Lab Bahrain, our place, to actually deliver their lessons. So we teach them all about creating their lessons in a gamified way, and then we teach them about how to create it in a storytelling way that makes it more engaging. We try to put everything in an online platform when it comes to the digital content, which are the lesson plans, the tutorials, and educators can communicate with each other on the blogs, and they can borrow the kit and whatever they need from our website as well. We noticed that the program is running smoothly, where educators are teaching students, and then these students can teach other students as well. So it's growing by itself. They mostly focus on the topics that they are teaching. It's not strict to ICT topics. It can be all about STEAM topics when it comes to art, physics, technology, engineering, and even creating your own games. So the curriculum that we made was like 7 levels, which is all gamified, that you need to finish or accomplish something at the end and build it at the end, rather than actually competing with one another to actually win. It's all about coming all together to build something at the end.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe this is Blair Evans. Joel, you want to take this one?
Yeah, I'll just make a couple of very short comments. Blair is an amazing individual who launched the Insight Lab in Detroit, an area that is really a food desert. And he helped kids, particularly those coming out of the criminal justice system, to use the Fab Lab to make hydroponic food production. So it gave them both digital skills and food in Detroit. He has now led an initiative in the northern part of Michigan, not the northern peninsula, but the northern lower peninsula, a city that was a Black resort in an earlier era that was largely abandoned, and is now revitalizing that with digital self-sufficient fab production capabilities as a whole community that's connected to the city council and other things, to really take seriously this idea of self-sufficiency. He was a retired auto engineer and is bringing his engineering talent to literally engineering a community that will build self-sufficiency. And that's what you see illustrated by this slide as he looked at the ecosystem in which he operated. Back
Okay,
to
I
you,
think we're
Victor.
running a little bit behind schedule, so I'll go a little bit faster. So this is Pradnya in India. She runs a Fab Lab in rural India that isn't a Fab Lab. It's a bunch of different facilities that act together to create a virtual distributed Fab Lab within her town where things are much needed. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, we have Materiome, who, a Fab Lab in Chile, I guess. Yes, I think. Focused on material research. Yes, next slide.
And just to say that Materium actually has recipes for using natural products in digital fabrication equipment. It's really pioneering not depending on plastics in your Fab Lab.
Right, and now the amazing Nuria Robles.
Hello, everyone. I'm Nuria Robles from Fab Lab León. We try to promote the gender equality through this program that is Poderosas. It's a program to empower the girls to develop their creativity, build confidence, and gain technical skills, always in a safe and inclusive environment. You can go to the next slide, please. Because sometimes when you are very focused in a topic, you are always making this question: are I doing everything, or can I do more? So I am honored now to be part of this new course. It's a 3-step trainer accreditation course. That is a course led by the University College of London. That is using many resources that were developing in a 4-year project that is making space project. All the resources are there because they are using a guidebook and also a free course online, and they have high impactful resources. Will help people to critically reflect questions like who benefits or who might be excluded, or what are the values that we promote. So I invite you to follow this course because it will give you this critical reflection about what we can do in our space to be more inclusive. So next slide, please.
Okay, this is me. I'll be very quick. So after graduating from the Fab Academy program, I created my own final project, which is to a lab that would be self-financed, self-sustained, without the support from government or educational institutions. And having spent 20 years in finance, I looked at many business models that I thought would be able to serve for an independently run Fab Lab, and the one that really came to mind, or that I found to be very much in alignment with what could work, are small businesses. So I'm sure in your hometown, there's a restaurant or a dry cleaner or somebody who's been around for 20 years. I'm guessing those guys don't have MBAs from a very fancy school, but somehow have been able to sustain a business for quite a long time. And my talk during the Fab All-In program is how we can learn from such businesses to keep our own Fab Lab running and going. Okay, next. All right, with that, I think I pass it on to Chelsea to talk about the program itself and what it has to offer.
Hello, everyone. I'm Chelsea Lynn. I'm the general manager of the Fab Foundation. As Rico said, I'll share some information about the course itself. To date, we've run 2 versions of Fab All-In, one in 2022, one in 2024. In 2024, we had 23 participants from 13 countries who gave 16 final projects. And we also had 22 presenters from 15 countries around the world. So it really is inclusive of our global community and global perspective. The previous section kind of highlighted some of the conversation sessions, the solutions that are shared in the 5 conversation sessions that are held throughout the course. We also have 4 interactive exercises that kind of shape thinking and progress towards a final project. So we presented the rosebud thorn exercise in this session. Another exercise is the 5 W's and how, which really probes deeper into challenges and helps deconstruct thinking about a challenge in order to make it to identify the building blocks, as well as community listening exercises to really solicit feedback and dive deeper into the perspectives of your local lab community. Next slide, please. So the program culminates in a presentation of a final project, much like Academy. So I'd love to share some of the highlights from 2024. First was from Nia Cavalli in France, who envisioned intergenerational collaborative sessions at her Fab Lab. And she used the 5 W's and how framework to deconstruct her local challenge and try to envision a solution for the challenge she identified of how do I connect seniors in my community with younger individuals who may have more knowledge in technology. Next slide, please. So you can see, sorry, this is related to Nia's project. Next slide. Caco Valladares from El Salvador wanted to deepen the connections within his national Fab Lab network and promote collaboration across the labs that he knows are there. So he set out a roadmap towards further collaboration at Ibero Fab Lab conference in 2024. So used like stakeholder mapping and diving deeper into his local community. Next, please. India Miles from Texas kind of used she broadened her thinking about who are the stakeholders in my community that aren't necessarily connected to Fab Labs. And her project envisioned a youth advisory committee to improve STEM access and education for young Black women who may not necessarily have the same opportunities as other folks in STEM or who are traditionally associated with Fab Labs. Next, please. And then finally, there were a pair of teachers in Brazil who wanted to deepen participation and use of digital fabrication within their K-12 school network community. So they used the rosebud thorn model to framework their thinking. And with that, I'll pass it to Megan to kind of provide a summary as to why we're here and why we believe in this course.
Hey, so you've gotten a really rapid fire tour. I'm going to go through some really fast slides. And also just shouting out other colleagues who co-created the course on here. I know Felicity's on. I know some others, Adrian joined us, others. So thank you again to everybody. So this is an idea. It's really called solution making through using inclusion. And Sherry talked about the Sustainable Development Goals. One of the things we did when I was the Chief Technology Officer for the US, and we worked with the UN when the goals were launched, and we actually just used social media to social storm the world and ask, who's already fixing the goals? Anything, any prototypes, anything regional? Are you doing something? We did it for 5 different years, and we would bring entrepreneurs to UN. 1,400 submissions from 141 countries in 3 weeks. So instead of what should I do about blank, look up and say, I wonder who's already doing something about blank. One group was flying drones to plant trees. One group was teaching law in prison. One group doing lighting. Benno, we met, who was doing floating Fab Lab, that the Fab Lab could move around. And so entrepreneurs from all over the world exist, innovators, creatives, etc. And we can use our community to accelerate them. This is an acceleration table. So we hear the entrepreneur, and then we think 2/3 yes and. How do I help them? What are my ideas, partnerships, money, whatever, for whatever we're trying to solve? And what can I do? 1/3 critiquing. So here's somebody making bamboo bicycles. And so Bernice is doing this in Ghana and her entrepreneur community. So just visuals to share that all over the world this is happening. See the map, like our Fab Lab network, there's makers, these are women entrepreneurs, these are people on islands, these are Native American leaders. And also to the point of, what Nora shared about the digital skills that everyone deserves, the DQ Institute has already laid out an outline for that. So let's just go to the DQ Institute or meet the women texters from Nigeria who are on the opposite side from Felicity in Kenya. And it's interesting because when the Apollo launched, we went to the moon as humanity, but also some people went to the launch and said, this is amazing, but can we also work on things like poverty and other topics? So how do we think all in about any subject that could be worthy of a Fab Lab innovation? And so these are some methods we're using: scout and scale, find doers, build a community of practice. That's who we are, right? Network across disconnected networks. Like what Vanessa did was thinking about the carpenters or another group in town that might be good. Maybe people who are doing social work. Can we do prototyping, iterating? Can we tell stories to each other? And can we do this inside of big and little organizations? We did this at the White House. We brought the meetup organizers like the Fab Labs to the White House to meet each other. This was a US thing, so it was all these cities and people on the left who were already innovating. We found chief science officer kids who were elected to their student government. We found people doing hackathons. We did a hackathon for foster care. We thought about opportunity. We did a hackathon for getting rid of the pay gap. This is Grace. She's in 10th grade teaching the chief of police in New Orleans how to code so they can work on the police data initiative to bring more justice through doing fab and making. We could do this all over the world, and this is happening. President Obama here is meeting with some young makers who decided to make a page-turning robot, and he said to them, how did you do this? And they said, oh, we did some brainstorming. And then he said, oh, really? And then what? We made some prototypes. So this is the point here, is really where Nuria was going, and Benno, everybody. How can the young people and all age people be mentored into experiential, confidence building, kind, technical experiences on any subject they're trying to solve, and have them feel like these kids, look, they're wearing capes and they're having fun and they're in kindergarten and first grade, and now they will think this is normal. What if everyone in the whole planet thought it was normal to work with your friends and solve problems on any subject, on any topic, and any person? So just the last thing I'll share is that we have a lot of imbalance. This particular one is a little bit about movies we watch. And when we watch the movie, we see lots of lines for men and few lines for women. But nobody meant to do that. We just inherited it. And so how can we make sure that we know the histories of lots of people? This is a picture from a book about Ada Lovelace, who invented algorithms. Here's the Duchess of Cambridge, who's now the Princess of Wales, with the code breakers from Bletchley Park, who were technical women in World War II who saved 11 million lives and shortened the war by 2 years by cracking codes. Ida B. Wells on the right, who was working on justice in tech. And this is Jane Addams in front of what I would call her Fab Lab 100 years ago. So thinking about all the talented people, whether it's the 13 women astronauts with the 7 astronauts and all of those people. Here at MIT, we had a chemistry lab of women 100 years ago, and they were doing interesting things like George Washington Carver, who was working on solutions and building a community practice. In the day, Alan created ecology and thought about less toxicity, very much in line with what Benna was doing. She's his teammate from long ago. And we found a network already that NASA and NOAA made of thousands of children around the world who are doing data tech around our world. Can we partner with this kind of a teammate? So just a quick share of sort of this already existing network that exists for us that's out there. And hold on, let me stop screen share. So I just want us to feel the welcome of so many teammates. And whenever you feel like you want to solve something, instead of looking down, look up at the lab network and ask who already fixed the thing I'm trying to fix. And what will be surprising for you is in this network and the connections we have from this network to the rest of our communities, probably we can find already 3, 4, 5 different versions of a solution. And then just as a last share, I'll share this amazing picture from a children's book of, like I said, Jane Addams created a Hull House, like a settlement house for the poorest people who were in her community in Chicago over 100 years ago. And she just started doing all kinds of things. And one of my favorite things she did was, getting the children from the neighborhood to become part of all kinds of programs. Even though they were poor children, they could be part of all of these different places. So we could go into the art room or the fab room or the theater room, music, and really just community organizing. This woman won the Nobel Peace Prize, the first woman in the world, because she just thought, my community already has things. Maybe we'll come together and I'm going to bring the fuel of a place. And so I'm just thanking everyone on this call for being part of making a place in your community. So thanks, everybody. I'll hand it back to Rico for any questions.
Right. We still have 3 minutes. Does anybody have any thoughts, questions, anything to share at all? Your turn to shine. Don't be shy.
And I'll just make an echo on Jane Addams, who invented the field of social work, and really took into account, as Megan says, the social and the technical at the same time. And that's very much the spirit of All-In.
Well, I mean, the big buzzword in the world right now is AI and how it's going to impact our respective lives. I think this kind of discussion, this kind of looking and listening can't be discounted. It's so important right now, as Joel writes in the book Designing Reality, that we build up the social infrastructure in line with all of this technology that's happening. It's happening so fast that if we don't take charge or take control of it and talk and share, that it will get out of control. So let's talk.
Well, and Rico, if I could add, institutions in society need to do 2 things. They need to help create value and they need to mitigate harm. Most Fab Labs were formed to create value, to teach digital literacy, to help people make whatever they can imagine, and even to make productive contributions economically. We haven't talked as much about mitigating harm, but there are things that can happen, particularly with biofab, that we worry about. And so another part of All-In is how we can be all in governing digital fabrication technologies in ways that mitigate risk or harm with the technology. So thank you, Rico, for raising that.
Any reactions, any quick thoughts for folks before we hop?
Yeah, I think you mentioned something very interesting, especially about the economic value of Fab Labs. And I feel like that has been a big hurdle, especially in Nairobi, that some Fab Labs got closed because they were highly dependent on funding. But on the positive aspect is that now we are evolving into seeing industrial kind of ventures coming out of the Fab Lab community. And I wish I could have had time to illustrate that. And we are seeing more industrialization happening, like groups of people who come and build manufacturing plants for electronics and all that. And I think there's an angle that is coming from that, where it's like, especially for us, most people say this needs to be self-sustainable and not 100% dependent on donor funding. And maybe we can explore that a lot more. And that would be more appealing to maybe the African continent, because a lot of people are looking at what is the value that we are giving, what's the economic output of the lab.
Yeah, Felicity, that's a really good point. And I think, by the way, Felicity is one of the founders of Fab All-In, just so everybody knows, bringing that. And I think, you know, Gearbox and other things that exist are real innovations. And you probably have other examples, but this idea of, and Vanessa was really going there, right, into the carpenters and, you know, bringing a broader view of not just prototyping, but actually full industries and the training into full industries as a real opportunity that's happening and being innovated in Africa and in South America and in other places. I think Iceland is also doing the same. Any other additions?
I think everyone has some questions. If everyone has any questions, you can email the Fab All-In group. I think that will be a really nice way to connect. They're also on WhatsApp and or Mattermost. If someone can drop some links here in the chat. We have run over the hour, and I'm so proud that we made it through the hour, because I know this group and you are right on time. So I'm really proud of you today. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Hope this was an inspiring talk for everyone, and it can drive lots of conversations moving forward. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a lovely rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Gracias, adiós.
Fun time.